Good afternoon. I'm Lloyd Priest, the chairman of the Housing Opportunity Commission Board. I would like to start the meeting by introducing and acknowledging the members of the commission. Vice Chair Francis Kelleher, Chair Pro
Present.
Tem Rick Nelson,
Here.
Commissioner Pamela Bird,
Present.
Commissioner Linda Kroom, Commissioner Jeff Merkowitz, Commissioner Jackie Simon.
Here.
I want to welcome all of you all to our meeting, and we're very thankful that you were able to attend the commission meeting. We'll start the meeting today with our usual speaking from our resident council, and I think we're going to be represented today by Ms. Chantel Times-Riddick, who I spoke to a few minutes ago, so we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Chantel Thomas-Riddick. I'm bringing you the updates from the RAB October 19th meeting. We are still working with the LPA for the website. 2 adjustments needed to be made to the RAB governing policy in regards to how the stipends are issued. 2 candidates were interviewed on October 27th, 2020, and were extended an offer of membership. They will be introduced at a subsequent meeting. We will interview 2 more candidates later this month, and we continue to have representation by the division directors. This month, we are expecting presentations from Lynn Hayes, Director of Housing Resource Division. Our next meeting will be Monday, November the 16th at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and so glad to have you available with us, and I hope you're going to be a regular part of our meetings, and so look forward to seeing you.
Thank you.
Thank you for participating.
Thank you.
We now turn to the community forum portion of our agenda. In October, the HOC staff worked hard to incorporate the community forum into our virtual commission meetings. The commission will continue to provide time on its agenda for members of the public to participate and share their concerns by signing up online in advance to address the commission. The online sign-in form and the guidelines for participating in the community forums for commission meetings can be found on our website, which is https://hoc.commissioners.html. I know you remember all of that. You can go on to HOC and get that contact for joining our community forum. If you are viewing our meeting via YouTube, the hyperlink is available in the description section of your browser screen. Tonight's community forum is limited to 30 minutes. Scheduled speakers were contacted in advance of the meeting and will be prompted to speak by the platform moderator when their turn begins. Participants each have 3 minutes to speak. When your 3 minutes have expired, the meeting moderator will note the expiration of time and move on to the next speaker. For customers and others unable to address the commission this evening, you have the option to submit written comments to the commission on the same website page link provided in YouTube. Please be sure to consult the participation guideline to ensure your submission meets requirements. We will now open the community forum.
Good evening. The first and only speaker for the community forum is Amanda Mandy Dalton. Amanda, if you are watching the commission meeting on YouTube, please mute your device to avoid an echo. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Please make sure that your phone is unmuted so we're able to hear you while you're speaking. I will announce your time will begin. I will announce when your time will begin and when your time ends.
Is Ms. Dalton?
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate being able to speak to the commission today.
Thank you. Your time starts now.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity to speak to you. I unfortunately took over my screen and I had prepared written remarks so that I could keep it short. But I will say this, I've had a nightmare for the last 3 months that began with a community member threatening me and harassing me and exposing himself in the parking lot of Streamside Apartments. He was my downstairs neighbor. I've filed for an emergency relocation. The emergency relocation has now taken 3 months, and only this morning have I received an approval on my second choice of an apartment. I have to say that with the exception of the bright light of Allison Garraway, most of my interactions with the HOC staff, and this is a Violence Against Women Act application, have been callous at times. And certainly my life was in danger. The gentleman threatened me, and I would have appreciated swift attention to the nature of my move. I do have PTSD, and so the situation and the stress with HOC and the moving on top of COVID has made my situation unbearable. And I was within a hair's breadth of this Saturday living in my car. So I bring this to the attention so that perhaps you can institute changes that would fast track application approval and apartment approval for women who are suffering violence or a violent community or harassment within their communities, and have submitted a Violence Against Women Act form with their relocation application. I thank the commission for hearing me.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dalton, for coming before us. I want to say that I regret any inconvenience that you have experienced as a result of the effort you have made to try to get relocated housing on an emergency basis, especially given your situation dealing with women in violence kinds of issues. But I'm happy to hear that you have at least been informed that your second request for a location has been approved, and that I hope they will be expedited in terms of getting you into your new location. Again, I apologize for that. I will in fact be continuing to work with the executive director and the staff to make sure that we are properly in tune to how to be more efficient in handling these type of requests. So I want to thank you, and again, I apologize for the inconvenience. Our next item on the agenda is the report of the executive director, Stacy Spann.
Really?
I'm not sure what was happening there.
We can hear you now, Stacy.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Priest, and with regard to our executive director's report today, so I've obviously filed it. I wanted to just point out really the most significant component of it, and that is that we are continuing to take all of our content and outreach to customers online, so in a live way. And so in particular, we've held finally our first virtual homeownership workshop. It's timely. As you all have probably seen in the news, it is in fact a seller's market. Homes are still selling, rates are incredibly low, and it's sensible that our customers ought to be able to participate in that market as well. So I wanted to acknowledge all of the work from the single family team and their efforts to really get this thing live. It's one of hopefully what will be a regular series of meetings with folks. Again, what we're seeing in the marketplace is tightening supply, increasing prices, but continually low interest rates. And then I want to pivot and talk again about some of our other activities, which are also taking online form. It hasn't been an easy transition given all of the content, but nonetheless, the team in resident services, in property management, and HRD, they've all been working consistently and well to try and refocus content delivery so that customers of all types can take advantage of it. So with that, I guess what I need to point out is that the customer we just heard from, clearly we've got some work to do in terms of our responsiveness. And so Commissioner Priest, I heard what you said about working with me to solve it. This is actually the first I'm hearing it firsthand from the customer. And so we'll be prepared to talk about this a bit over the coming weeks, but enhance our ability to address violence against women issues, and in particular, identifying and appropriate units and relocating them. I also want to emphasize that probably not the most secure forum for us to be talking about individual items. And so we should probably provide some sort of relief and direct customer service so that we're checking up on each one of these without it having to come to a public forum. So.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions to Mr. Spann?
I don't have a question, just a comment and to support what's already been said. And, that, particularly for concerns about violence against women, but, in general, I think we just need to make sure that we are treating all of our customers, with respect and sensitivity to any of the issues that they might bring forward to us. And so, likewise, Roy and Stacy, appreciate hearing that you will be addressing any concerns that have been brought to us.
Any other questions?
I would like to thank Stacy for the interview that he had, the 2 sessions, and to congratulate you and to say that you do us proud, and we're grateful for your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a little embarrassing. So I'll just leave it there.
Your face is red.
It really is, actually.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you.
I would like to just acknowledge to Stacy Spann and to the HOC staff that today I had the opportunity to participate in a HUD compliance monitoring review session that was conducted by the DC field offices of public and Indian housing. And it was very excellent to hear that they consider HOC as one of their model agencies. I know we all do that, but it's always glad to have an affirmation coming from the Department of Housing and Urban Development that has certainly a certain amount of regulatory oversight for the agency. And so it was good to hear. And I didn't participate in the entire review, but the portion of it I did. I was very pleased with the status that's being made in terms of performance. And I think hopefully was able to answer their questions they had from the standpoint of governance from the board. So thank you very much to the staff and to you, Stacy, for continuing to do excellent work and to get HUD to acknowledge it. And we'll wait for them to issue their report, which I know usually comes within 30 days of their usual compliance monitoring visit. It's very unusual this time because they had to do it virtually. And they prefer being certainly in your offices doing it. But again, congratulate the staff and on the work that you all did to prepare to be able to have that monitoring visit from HUD.
I just want to say I appreciate that, but as you heard just a little bit earlier, we obviously don't get it right every single time. And it's this work is difficult already, but when we get it wrong, we often are adversely impacting an entire family's life, and so I appreciate that. The team does great work most every time out, and we're just going to keep working to try and get better. So
let me just comment. I don't want to take away from the discussion we had with the resident and the problem that she raised, but I do think it needs to be noted that the number of interactions of our staff with residents and potential residents is significant. And the number of complaints are not that large. So it just points out that we get it right most of the time. Yes, sometimes things don't work out right, and sometimes we don't quite do it right. But I don't want anyone to get the impression that this is the rule. It is an exception.
Yeah, very good. I mean, I think certainly we are not certainly trying to be perfect. That's not the goal of is perfection. It's the idea that we do the best job we can in terms of providing responsive and effective services to our residents. And that we are in fact living out our creed of being housers. We are housers at HOC. With that, any more expressions from the commissioners? I will move.
Yeah,
to the-
I have one. I just wanted to ask Stacy one question. If someone was to contact HOC about violence against women, what department do they contact? Do the residents know what department? Would it be the resident service? Would it be their special? I know that I know a packet comes when they get their packet. It's inside of that about women, violence against women. I'm just trying to find out what department, if they don't have that information, who
Sure.
do they contact?
Well, typically what happens is folks contact, however it happens, they are typically contacting someone in our call center. And so that happens via email, via telephone, a combination of the two sometimes. Often staff will actually route someone directly to the call center. That's the best place to start. But ultimately, a Violence Against Women Act related matter involving a voucher goes to our Housing Resources Division. But because it's a multi-layered series of issues, it's very likely that it would be Housing Resources Division, property and asset management, and inspections all together working to try and resolve the issue.
Do they need a police report?
Lynn, are you on, Lynn? For a voucher, I mean, there does have to be some information, supplemental and otherwise provided, but I'm not sure if it's exactly a police report. So, but there's an entire packet that talks about precisely which information we need to process it. Generally, we process them pretty quickly and confidentially.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other comments?
Yes, I'm wondering if it would be appropriate in one of our next email communication with our residents, just to periodically be reminding people of various opportunities if we're not already doing it, and the connections or processes, so that people feel more aware and perhaps a little less alone.
Understood. And so we're actually, we send out a fair number of newsletters already. So that's one component where folks would get the information. There is the periodic but regular interaction with Housing Resources, as well as the call center. But there's no doubt that we can probably lift certain issues, particularly given where we are in this moment in time, lift certain issues up in a better fashion on the website. And so we'll work to do that as well.
Thank you. Thank you. If not, we can move now to the commissioner exchange. And I'd like to start this by having a brief moment to advise the commission and staff and the public that in September 2020, a complaint was filed with the State of Maryland Open Meetings Compliance Board against HOC's committees. The complaint alleged that HOC's Budget, Audit, and Finance Committee, Development and Finance Committee, and Legislative and Regulatory Committee are public bodies and are as such required to follow the Open Meeting Act. On November the 2nd of 2020, day before yesterday, the Open Meetings Compliance Board issued its opinion that the three committees are public bodies and are subject to the Act, and therefore past actions have violated the Act whenever we met in a closed session. HOC intends to immediately rectify this error and ensure that its future actions comply with the Act in all respects, and that the public will be informed and advised about schedules for future committee meetings. And the other matters that commissioners want to bring before to one another. If not, I will now move the agenda and ask for approval of minutes for the minutes of October the 7th, 2020, approval of minutes for the October 27th to 20 administrative session. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Been moved by Commissioner Coombs,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Nelson. Are there any questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. So ordered in the affirmative. The next order of business will be our committee reports and recommendations for action. The first committee reports will come from Budget, Finance, and Audit Committee, which is chaired by Mr. Nelson, Commissioner Nelson.
The the members of the commission have all received copies of the CAFR, the single audit report, and the management letter drafts submitted by our auditors for your review. And if I recall correctly, Cornelia, help me out, we're going to get a final copy
Right.
in a couple of weeks, and for that reason we'll have, because audits are in fact approved in a administrative session, we will have an administrative session for the commission to formally accept the audit.
That's correct. We're targeting no later than November 18th, but hopefully sooner than that.
Okay.
And Mandy and Karen are from Clifton are on the call of the meeting right now. If anyone has any questions on the commission.
You might want to explain just, Cornelia, for those who may be listening in, what the
Sure.
CAFR is.
Sure. So the CAFR is our annual financial statement audit. And it includes the operations for the entire year. We also have our single audit report, which is the audit of our federal expenditures, and also a management letter, which we get annually from the auditors as well, citing any deficiencies or any things that we need to address or work on.
And I should mention, I'm sorry I didn't in the beginning, the Budget, Finance, and Audit Committee did in fact go through the draft audit in some level of detail with the auditors and discussed their findings. And the most significant finding is that there were no findings. I mean, you always look for an audit that doesn't raise major issues that get flagged for folks to see. There was one minor issue that has been raised in terms of how we present the audit reports of the several auditors who look at our development corporations. We have some 50 development corporations, and we have, I'm not sure what the number is, but a number of independent auditors go through those. And there is not necessarily uniformity in the way that they present their information. Therefore, it's difficult for the single auditor to, in fact, ensure that they can go through it all and relate things the way they need to be. So we will be taking steps to ensure that those component unit audits are in fact conducted in a more similar fashion in terms of the reporting, I should say. I mean, they're all conducted the same way. But that was the single issue that has been raised by our auditors. And that is, in fact, a credit to the fine staff that we have, who somehow or other every year manages this huge operation. And HOC is a large operation. And let's say we've got these 50 development corporations, $275 million operating budget, and a capital budget of similar size. If you go through this stuff and the reports we get all year, you know it is in fact a major job. So my hat's off to the staff. And I'm sorry I'm sounding so bad, but this is allergy season for me.
Commissioner Nelson, I'm sorry, Commissioner Priest. I just wanted to mention that Mandy Merchant, who's the principal from Clifton Larson Allen, our auditor, is here in the event that you have questions or pointed items of discussion. I think Cornelia mentioned that, but I wanted to make sure. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. If any commissioners do have questions, certainly feel free to ask them. I also just want to make a notation that during discussions with the auditors, it was, as Commissioner Nelson was pointing out, the mammoth scale of the work that has to be done around auditing. The thing about it with this time was that we did it in a virtual environment where we were under COVID. And so the auditors did note the fact that the staff had done an excellent job of making all the materials accessible in a format that they were able to access and work through with the staff. So we were able to get it done on time. It did not extend the audit period any significant period of time. So thanks to Cornelia, you and your staff for all the work you did to get that done.
Are there any questions? Mandy, do you have anything you'd like to say? I mean, you don't have to.
No, I don't have any comments. I just want to reiterate that there's a lot of time and effort that goes into this report, and we are all working around the clock right now to get this done. And I really do appreciate everyone's dedication and hard work to get this done. So you guys will have something that's nice and ready and accurate in a couple weeks. So thank you to everyone.
Good. Asha, at what point do we need to approve a resolution to authorize going into an admin session sometime in the next couple of weeks?
To approve a resolution to go into the admin session?
Yeah, I mean, we have to have a motion to adjourn to a admin session to consider the audit when it is finalized, and that will be in 2 weeks before our next commission meeting. So do we need to have such a motion today to permit us to go into the admin session to consider the audit?
No, I think it would be handled similar to any special session where you would have to start with an open meeting and vote to close that meeting. It's how we're going to do at the end of this meeting.
Okay. So then we'll go to our next item, which is the calendar year portfolio budgets. And Cornelia, how are you going to handle
Thank you, Commissioner Nelson. And so Terry Fowler, our budget officer, is going to walk us through the approval of the calendar year 21 portfolio budgets.
Thank you, Cornelia. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Today we are requesting approval of the calendar 21 budgets for our tax credit properties and the Lindley, which will be reported on a calendar year basis. The tax credit portfolio consists of 11 multifamily properties. Just as a reminder, the cash flow for these properties is restricted to the property. And as the managing general partner for the tax credit, HOC is responsible for funding any deficits that would occur in the operations of a tax credit property. And Lasco Manor is projected to generate a loss of approximately $36.5 thousand, which is up from the last year projection of 27.9 for calendar 20. Just as a reminder, Lasco Manor is a project-based 12-unit building located in Bethesda that provides permanent supporting housing for our formerly homeless individuals with incomes below 30% of AMI. This loss will be incorporated into the FY22 budget process. It should also be noted that a portion of the loss is the result of the management fee that is paid to HOC on the property. The agency does receive partnership management fees from the multifamily tax credit properties. Calendar 21 is projecting approximately $147,000 in fees, which is a decrease of about 12.8 thousand or 8% from calendar 21. In part, this is due to 3 properties which came out of compliance over the last 12-month period and were donated back to HOC and now operate in our opportunity housing. And that is Georgian Court, the affordable units at the Barclay and Stewarttown, as well as the loss on Lasco Manor, which prevents a fee from being paid. If we remove those properties, the fees would actually be up this year based on the small growth in the fees, plus the addition of the new fee for Bower Park, which was just established as a tax credit property in September. For this portfolio, with the exception of Arcola Towers, Forest Oak Towers, and Waverly House, there are no rent increases budgeted, and that is primarily the result of COVID-19 pandemic. The 3 properties mentioned, our increase for rents is 2%, which is based on the latest OCAF, and that is the factor used in determining rents on our project-based rental assistance properties. Looking at our capital, the budget for capital this year, there have been times when properties had to increase their contributions to replacement reserve in order to meet their capital needs. And for calendar 21, we do have increased RFR contributions at both Metro Point and Forest Oak Towers. And I'd be happy to address any questions you may have related to the budgets that we are presenting for approval.
You talked about Lasco Manor, and let me just reiterate that Lasco Manor is a special needs project. It's only got 12 units. It's got higher operational costs because of some of the requirements of the building. We are looking to see whether there are any ways to keep that annual loss down. That is something that we will be working with the staff on. But it's just a special circumstance because of the nature of the clientele, the fact that it is so small, and it's a single building that has a lot of costs to just plain operate it, which normally you would spread out over a larger number of units, but that's not the case here. So it's not a case of inefficient management. It's a case of just trying to do what we need to do to help the residents of that particular project.
You had a
Are
question.
there any- Go ahead, Roy.
Go ahead, Rich. You're doing what I was giving you to do.
I was going to say, if there are no other questions, I'll move approval of resolution number 20-74, approval of the calendar year 21 portfolio budgets.
I second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Kelleher. Are there any questions? If not, signify by the use of aye, the approval of this resolution 20-74.
Aye.
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 Any opposers? Nay. So ordered. Next order.
Next item is, pardon me, the renewal of the property management contract at Shady Grove. And that's going to be handled by Jay Berkowitz, I think.
Yes. Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, Jay Berkowitz, Asset Manager for Shady Grove. Property management contract with Shady Grove Apartments Limited Partnership is expiring on January 15, 2021. The contract provides for additional 3 one-year renewals, and the contract was originally awarded in January of 2014. Staff requests that the contract for Shady Grove Apartments be renewed for 1 year, for 1 year with Edgewood Vantage Management. Shady Grove Apartments is a garden-style community of 144 HUD units. The property was built in 1980 and is located in Deerwood. The property received a score of 99A for its most recent REACT inspection and has maintained an average occupancy of 97% over the last 2 years. Edgewood received a score of 3.05 on the most recent resident survey, and the scoring average range was between 3.56 and 2.69. I have not received any complaints from the residents at Shady Grove. The renewal of the property management contract for Shady Grove for 1 year will not have a budget impact, as the costs associated with the services were factored into the FY 2021 property budget. Additionally, the renewal will be performance-based, so the management fee would be lower if revenue declined below budgeted expectations. In addition to occupancy, performance criteria will include REACT scoring. Staff requests that the Commission approve the property management contract renewal with Edgewood Vantage Management for 1 year at Shady Grove Apartments. Are there any questions?
If there are no questions, I'll move approval of resolution 20-75, approval to renew property management contract with Shady Grove.
I'll second.
Already moved and seconded to approve resolution 20-75. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposers, nay. So ordered.
Next item is the approval to renew the property management contract for Poopsville Court. And I believe Millicent is going to take us through that.
Yes. Hello, my name is Millicent Anglin, and I'm an asset manager in the property management department. I'm recommending that the property management contract for Poopsville Court be renewed for 1 year. The current contract with Vantage Management expires on December 22nd, 2020, and I'm requesting that the contract be renewed through December 22nd, 2021. Vantage has been managing the property since 2013. Poopsville Court is a 50-unit multifamily property that includes 10 affordable units for households earning up to 50% AMI. The property is located in Bethesda and offers amenities including parking and a swimming pool. The property is well maintained and is 98% occupied. In a March 2020 resident survey, Edgewood Vantage scored 3 out of 4 available points, which was the 4th highest score of the 6 management companies surveyed. Edgewood Vantage has recently reorganized their corporate level staffing to improve customer service. HOC staff will continue working closely with Vantage to ensure improved resident survey results going forward. Staff requests Commission approval to renew the property management contract with Vantage for Poopsville Court. The renewal will be performance-based, so fees will be lower if revenue declines below budgeted expectations or if the property scores below 80 on a REACT inspection. Do you have any questions?
If there are no questions, I move approval of resolution 20-76, renewal of property management contract for Poopsville Court.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve resolution 20-76. Are there any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed is nay. So ordered.
The next item is the approval of property management contract for the Willows. And we're going to hear from Milton again on that one.
Yes. Hello, for the record, my name is Millicent Anglin, and I'm an asset manager in the property management department. I'm recommending that the property management contract for the Willows Apartments be renewed for 1 year. The current contract with Edgewood expires on January 15th, 2021, and I'm requesting that the contract be renewed through January 15th, 2022. Edgewood has been managing the property since 1999. The Willows Apartments is a 195-unit garden-style community located in Gaithersburg. All units are affordable for households earning up to 60% AMI. The property received a 98A score on its most recent REAC inspection and is 98% occupied. In March 2020, HOC completed a resident survey, and Edgewood scored 3 out of 4 available points, which was the 4th highest score of the 6 management companies surveyed. Edgewood has recently reorganized their corporate staffing to improve customer service, and HOC will continue working closely with Edgewood to ensure improved resident survey results going forward. Staff requests commission approval to renew the property management contract with Edgewood for the Willows Apartments. The contract is performance-based, so fees will be lower if revenue declines below budgeted expectations or if the property scores below 80 on a REAC inspection. Do you have any questions?
I would just like to make a comment that I'm happy to see these occupancy numbers up at 98% in a number of these contracts that we're renewing, and I wonder whether the performance based contracts are a contributing factor to these occupancy standards and REAC reports, inspection reports improving over the recent years.
I think for the properties that we've discussed tonight, those are generally in this area already in terms of occupancy as well as strong REAC scores. I think the companies themselves know these properties really, really well. They've got them down. But the fact of the matter is, an extra look over a shoulder or a glance here or there, given our performance management requirements in the contracts, does not hurt.
Good.
Okay. I would move approval of resolution 20-77, renewal of property management contract for the Willows.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded to approve resolution 20-77. Are there any questions? If there are none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. So ordered. Commissioner Nelson, thank you for work of the Budget Finance and Audit Committee. And we'll now move to the Development and Finance Committee, chaired by Jackie Simon.
It's exciting to see the activity moving forward on the Holly Hall redevelopment and to anticipate the contribution that this development is going to be able to make to the eastern part of the county. And so I would love to turn it over to staff to run through it for the benefit of those who are not privileged to be on the Development and Finance Committee and those of the public who may have joined us this evening. This is really an exciting major contribution to the economic and social development of the eastern part of the county.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Kayreen Brown, Chief Investment and Real Estate Officer. And as we move along with the pre-development activities at the Holly Hall site, we are requesting a number of actions related to pre-development funding for the site. And I will immediately turn it over to Catherine Hollister, who is working alongside the development team. And she will highlight for you the request tonight, and we'll take your questions. So with that, Catherine, please speak to the commission.
Thanks, Karen. Good evening, commissioners. For the record, my name is Catherine Hollister. I'm a senior financial analyst in the real estate division. Staff is here today to request commission approval on 4 items related to the redevelopment of Holly Hall Apartments into Hillandale Gateway. Holly Hall Apartments is a former 96-unit public housing community and the future development site of Hillandale Gateway, a new mixed-use, mixed-income, multi-generational community located in the Hillandale community of Silver Spring. Hillandale Gateway will consist of 155 senior units, 308 multifamily units, a coffee shop, retail space, parking garage, and public open space. At least 25% of the residential units will be affordable to households earning 60% or less of the area median income, and another 5% of units will be affordable to households earning 80% or less of the AMI. Hillandale Gateway is an exciting new development that represents new investment in Eastern Montgomery County that will help create a new vibrancy as well as stimulate economic activity in the greater Hillandale community. Hillandale Gateway will also set new benchmarks for sustainability and high performance development in Montgomery County. Through the use of passive house design and the installation of a solar energy array on the site, the development team hopes to achieve zero net energy for the senior residential building. Currently on the site is Holly Hall Apartments. Holly Hall is vacant and its 3 buildings have reached the end of their useful life cycles. To facilitate the development of Hillandale Gateway, the existing buildings must be demolished and the site prepared for construction. As such, staff is requesting approval of a budget and funding in the amount of $843,700 for the demolition of Holly Hall. Staff proposes that the commission fund the development budget in the form of a loan from the OHRF. A breakdown of the budget and timeline for Holly Hall demolition can be found on page 61 of your brief book. In addition, staff is seeking commission approval of a revised pre-development budget for Hillandale Gateway in the amount of $10,053,974, representing a 26% increase over the current budget, and includes pre-development funding spent to date, future pre-development expenditures through closing of construction financing, and a contingency. All pre-development costs will be reimbursed at closing of construction financing, which is anticipated to occur in the 4th quarter of calendar year 2021. A breakdown of the revised pre-development budget can be found on page 62 of your brief book. Finally, staff is requesting approval of funds in the amount of $1,809,253 in the form of a loan from the OHRF to Hillandale Gateway LLC to cover pre-development costs through closing of construction financing. A breakdown of previously approved pre-development funding can be found on page 63 of your brief book. Approval of Hillandale Gateway site plan is scheduled to come before the planning board on December 17th, 2020. Staff will return to the commission in January 2021 after planning board approval to provide a full project update. In summary, staff is requesting commission approval of 4 items. First, approval of a budget for the demolition of Holly Hall Apartments. Approval of funding for the demolition of Holly Hall Apartments. Approval of a revised pre-development budget for Hillandale Gateway, and approval of pre-development funding for Hillandale Gateway. The resolution for these items can be found on page 67 of your brief book. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
This was a subject of considerable discussion at our committee meeting, and concern as to how we can be a little closer to the ultimate costs earlier in the stage. And I think we've come to some understanding of how to achieve that. And I know the staff is eager to answer any questions that those who do not serve on the committee might have. Are there any questions?
Being relatively new to the commission, learning more about this project, would agree with Commissioner Simon. This seems like an exciting addition, to the community, to the HOC portfolio. Regarding the budget, just a couple of questions. If I'm understanding it correctly, the increase in budget, a fair portion of it looks like it's sort of moving expenses that we might have incurred elsewhere into this budget. Is that an accurate reflection, so that they're not necessarily new costs, they're just being included here where they otherwise would have been included elsewhere? Is that an accurate reflection?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Okay, great. And then also, and that's somewhat reassuring because then it doesn't seem as dramatic of a change. Right. The other thing I was noticing, and again, sort of being new to the commission and to some of the processes that we engage in, it seems like what I think is this the fourth budget that we're being asked to approve? Is that typical to have that many requests for changes or to modify the budget?
So,
go ahead, Catherine.
oh yeah, the initial installments, really that was the result of coming in for tranches of funding. So even in the first two installments, it was just piecemeal funding to get us through a specific period of work and then returning to the commission for another installment of funding. So it was understood that this was going to take multiple years. And instead of having just a full budget outlined at the very beginning, it was really coming back to the commission for installments to fund the next phase of the pre-development work.
And there has been, I would say, significant improvement into the concepts as they have determined solar, they've determined the materials and the new structure that's going to be used on this particular site. As the development is evolved, each step being an improvement. It does affect some of the numbers that we have looked at earlier. And so we're going to end up with a much better product and provide a much greater service and considerably more units than we originally thought we were going to be able to get. So as some of these evolve, we get gains on those fronts, and they may well have costs related.
So to answer, yes, that's absolutely right. We certainly agree that it's a better product. That has been the result of a number of animated conversations with the commission, and quite a bit of rethinking and re-engineering on the part of both commissioners and staff, as well as our partners at Duffy. But I wanted to Commissioner Merkowitz highlight what Commissioner Simon opened with, and that is around the precision of process, which is exactly what your question goes to. So it wasn't that we were having certainly wasn't our intent to have four separate or different budgets approved. It was a combination of identifying where we needed pre-development capital in order to manage the entitlements process, the planning process, the design process, and then coming back for tranches, but also introducing a completely new product type in the form of prescient on this particular development. And so what that caused was, quite frankly, because of we'd never used it before, a void where you would normally have at least a sort of a straw man budget. And so that is what Commissioner Simon was talking about in terms of our eagerness to figure out how to address that need. It's an absolutely appropriate conversation that we had around it. And the fact of the matter is now we know more about the product type, but how could we have come at this differently? We could have just based on the development we've done, applied some kind of hybrid square footage estimates as an example, and then built out a budget that way. It's my responsibility. In fact, it was at my direction that the team did it. I was overly cautious because we had not dealt with pressing it before. We had been working for some time to try to get our partners in county government as well to explore it with us. Were unsuccessful. And so I was really concerned that we would come in at a number that was far too low and then have the discussion around, oh my God, this budget has jumped by, some multiple. And what does that look like? In addition, there are a number of transportation related considerations on this site and in this particular area of the county that we could not have anticipated. But knowing what we know now, this is a good proxy for how we go forward with something that is sort of a hybrid product that has a great many moving parts that we also do in a joint venture situation. So we've got everything we need to cause an appropriate strawman budget to be presented at the beginning.
I'd just like to add and reiterate some of what Stacy said. Some of these changes came in moving from concept to actual site design and discussions with the county. They requested that we accommodate space for 3 bus bays, which is going to help the transportation problems in this area, and recognizing our responsibility to have really a community that is going to work for the residents that live there. In the broad sense of that term, we chose to step up to the plate and are providing bus bays so that you can have turnarounds of bus stops right here on the property going back out onto New Hampshire Avenue. Things like that, which shift and add aspects that just weren't there in the beginning that we didn't know about. So it's an evolutionary process, and we are happy or lucky to have staff that keep track of all of these changes. And that's why these descriptions get longer every time you see them, is because you will have the history here of exactly how we made decisions at what point in time. So that's something I had to get used to as the second newest kid on the block. And we'll let you know that you can expect that to happen going forward.
Stacy, you might also, I'm not sure whether Commissioner Merkowitz fully understands what you mean when you say pressure. It took me 2 or 3 meetings to figure out what you meant when you said
Yes,
pressure.
I apologize. I should have. So it is a new product type. It's essentially the multifamily version of Legos. And it allows
We're not building a Lego house.
multifamily product type, but it's a hybrid essentially between what would be sort of a wood frame over podium and a concrete and steel. It has significant advantages that I can't take any credit for it. The real estate team were the ones who found it. There are a number of now communities being built on this coast, but the company itself is based in Denver. There are a significant number of buildings at this point under construction and under operation, and have been for some time using it. It's a 2x2 floor plate, which with every piece being engineered and machined on at a site, and that's in full cooperation with an engineering team, but also the architects. It's incredibly elegant. It's super fast. It is also fire rated. And just provides an ease of use that allows the building to progress at a much more consistent and steady rate than either wood frame or concrete and steel. And at the same time, on a per square footage basis, it allows us to get even more units that are more affordable generally, and I think offer us strong financing considerations. So we're excited about using it. HOC continues to pioneer in this space, and so we're gonna keep at it.
Stacey,
And I would
to add is our ability to use the design here at Hillandale and apply it at another site, so that it cuts down on a significant amount of time for designing at a new location, which is a huge benefit.
I think one other exciting part of this development is the fact that we expect to be able to achieve net zero energy consumption. I think this is, if my memory is correct, that this is the first achievement at this level that we have the opportunity to produce, and it's going to mean a lot to the residents as far as costs. We're not, if we're able to bring them down in this way. So it's just a very exciting project all the way around. And I really commend the staff for the combination of efforts they've put into this to be willing to re-examine, always at our request, more deeper subsidies for the families, but also to produce more general benefit to a geographic neighborhood. So are there any other questions that
Yes, I have one question. Between now and closing on this property, what do you anticipate as future requests are going to come before the commission to amend this budget? And I asked that question really because one of the things you're asking us to do is approve the demolition budget for this Holly Hall. And we know from our most recent experience we had with the ambassador that we ran into significant uncontemplated situations during the demolition of that property. And we could conceivably have something similar to that related to the Holly Hall buildings that have been up there for a long time. So just going forward, do you anticipate having to come back to the commission with a lot more amendments to this budget?
Well, first off, appreciate the question, and you're absolutely right. Ambassador required a bit more, but mostly because we were including an additional building on that site, because we were moving forward under one concept with one set of partners, and then we were able to expand that tent to broaden it and really wind up treating that entire parcel in a way that is most respectful and gives us the greatest opportunity for enhancing it with community connected housing. On this one, I think we've taken some of those lessons, applied the square footage demo cost, given real consideration to the materials that are on site, as well as the various different buildings and the general age of the property itself, and added a contingency that we think will hold. Now, these buildings haven't been touched in this way. I mean, they're older than I am, and and they're sicker than I am, and so we believe we're going to be okay. And we've approached it that way and added a contingency that should get us there. I cannot guarantee until we start getting the first one down. And you're 100% correct. I mean, we don't want to come back to you. So we're gonna, and we've worked with the demolition team to really scope it out. So we think it'll get there, but I can't promise that we're not gonna have to come back. If we do, my guess it's going to be because there is something on site that we found that causes us a demolition challenge, as opposed to we just didn't consider the appropriate square footage or fees related to it. I think there'll be some surprise there, probably not in the building, but just below it. And that'll cause it. That's my guess.
But Stacy, isn't there also in this site, there's not the structural fragility that was at the Ambassador with the parking garage, and we don't have any buildings as close as we had where they were actually, the parking garage was touching or very close to touching another property. And we've got more maneuvering room here. So you shouldn't have quite the shock that we had on the Ambassador.
We should not. Again, you know, these are incredibly seasoned buildings. And, you know, there's not a single soul on our team who was here when they were built and brought into commission. Well, except you. And you know, fortunately for us, you weren't actually on a construction site stacking bricks. So,
as you know, the reason that I ask those kinds of questions, because as you well know, that when you start getting strained between your sources and uses, you know, you have to worry about trying to make sure we continue to sustain our affordability.
Sure.
And so that's why, you know, I'm so conscious about trying to make sure we manage our budgets well. So I think we've done an excellent job with that. I have no question about it now. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't looking for any sort of going forward expectations in terms of additional funding for this project to get it to closing.
No, we appreciate the question. And again, we anticipate interest rates continuing in this fashion for roughly the next year. We might actually get a little, Karine and team are good about building in a little bit of cushion on the permanent financing as well, so that we can sort of continue to meet that affordability requirement, but at the same time, make sure we're making the appropriate debt coverage, debt service payments and so forth. So.
But let me also say, Roy, because I don't think you were at the meeting, in our discussion about this, and I think Stacy and Commissioner Simon have covered it. We want to make sure that we get as much of a picture of what it's going to cost up front as possible. On the other hand, we don't want to build up an environment where figures are needlessly inflated so that they don't get caught later on when they have some additional add-ons. I mean, we want as realistic a budget as possible up front. And I think that we're moving in that direction. I mean, one of the things, for instance, on this, if I recall correctly, there wasn't a contingency in the original budget. We're putting a $500,000 contingency in it now. I mean, we put contingencies in everything. And with this kind of stuff, you need to have a contingency because stuff happens. So I think the initial question that Commissioner Merkowitz raised is the valid one that we discussed at the committee, and I think it's something we just continue to work on.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions for the commissioners or the staff, I would move to approve resolution number 2078. Okay.
It's been moved, and who was it seconded by? Commissioner
Rick
Nelson?
Rick, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. So ordered. Next item.
Yes. Our
Hey,
next.
Again, I'm Karine Brown, Chief Investment and Real Estate Officer. And the next item is a request for due diligence funds for the refinance of the mortgage associated with Strathmore Court Apartments. I will turn over to Jennifer Arrington in just a second to discuss this with you. But just to give you a little bit of background, this past summer, we refunded the bonds underlying the Strathmore Court property. And we're in the process of refinancing the mortgage into a risk share mortgage. And this is a request for due diligence funds. So with that, Jennifer Arrington, who is the Assistant Director of Bond Management, will discuss the key points with you and we'll take your questions. Jennifer?
And would you please be sure to describe a risk share mortgage for the benefit of people who aren't watching the meeting and may not be familiar with the product?
Sure. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Jennifer Arrington, the Assistant Director of Bond Management for the Mortgage Finance Division. And as Kareen mentioned, in June of this year, the Commission approved the issuance of bonds under the 1996 indenture to, among other things, refund several outstanding bonds that finance existing communities, including Strathmore Court, which was originally issued under the multiple purpose indenture. As a result of the refunding, the Commission's borrowing cost for the multifamily program was lowered by an estimated year one net savings of $756,000. The underlying mortgage for Strathmore is unenhanced, and as planned, staff is completing the underwriting to refinance Strathmore's existing mortgage and apply for FHA risk share mortgage insurance. FHA Risk Share Mortgage Insurance is a program under HUD to supply insurance for multifamily mortgages through HUD. It's a program that is limited to HFAs, of which HOC is a participant.
HFA is Housing Finance Agency.
Correct. To complete the refinancing, staff recommends utilizing the year one savings within the 1996 indenture to fund due diligence and closing costs, totaling approximately $121,000. It is anticipated that FHA will issue a firm approval for FHA Risk Share Mortgage Insurance in early 2021, with a closing shortly thereafter. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to field them.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, I would move resolutions 2079 to fund the due diligence budget for the FHA risk share mortgage refinancing of Strathmore Court Apartments.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded to approve resolution 20-79. Are there any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed or nay? So ordered. Next item.
Next item is the single family bonds, a request to increase the obligation draw on the PNC Bank line of credit to refund and redeem some of these single family bonds.
Jennifer will discuss this with you as well. Please go ahead, Jennifer.
Great. Good evening, commissioners again. In order to recycle and extend the life of volume cap allocated to each bond issue, the Commission has utilized the practice of issuing refunding bonds in the single family mortgage purchase program. And considering the Commission receives a very limited quantity of volume cap from the state each year, existing single family cap already used by the Commission should be preserved to the best extent possible. The Commission previously approved the program's use of the PNC Bank line of credit in an amount up to $5 million for replacement refunding. However, staff is requesting a temporary increase to $10 million for the same purpose in order to preserve volume cap. While single family is planning a bond issuance in February 2021, it is anticipated that on January 1st, approximately $9 million of bonds may be eligible for replacement refunding. The final amount drawn in December will be collateralized by the repayments and revenue in the corresponding single-family indenture. And upon the program's bond issuance in February, the draw on the line will be retired and the temporary increase for use of the PNC line of credit for replacement refundings by the program will expire. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah, just to make sure I understand, when we talk about replacement funding, is that essentially a refinancing? Is that
yes,
what we're doing? Yeah. Okay. And so presumably we are taking advantage of a lower rate environment that will lead to some savings as well.
Yes, but the ultimate goal is is to recycle the volume cap. But yes,
So it's the volume cap more than the interest rate.
Correct.
The
But
issue.
we should receive interest savings as well.
Okay. Okay. Do we have any estimate on? I mean, I suppose we won't know until we issue the new bonds.
We actually will know a little bit later this month, but we couldn't provide you that information because we didn't have the exact dollar. And we wanted to make sure that we take advantage of recycling the cap and not losing it. So we can provide you with that savings. I just don't have that dollar figure at this moment.
Okay. That's fine. Thanks.
The big issue is running out of volume cap and husbanding that and reclaiming it wherever we can, since what we receive from the state is limited.
Correct.
Are there any other questions, staff? Hearing none, I move resolution 2080 to increase the obligation to draw on the PNC line of credit to refund and redeem single-family bonds.
I second.
It has been properly moved and seconded to approve resolution 20-80. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. So ordered.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There does not appear to be any other matters to come before the commission, so that we can in fact take a motion to adjourn this meeting of the commission.
Pursuant to section 3-305B of the General Provisions article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, I move to adjourn this open session to a closed session to consider the acquisition of real property for a public purpose or matters directly related thereto, and to comply with a specific constitutional, statutory, or judiciarily imposed requirement that prevents public disclosures about a particular proceeding or matter.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? So ordered. We will now start the meeting for our Development Corporation meetings for Poopsville Development Corporation. The meeting is now called to order for the Poopsville Development Corporation. And the matter to be brought before it involves renewing a property management contract that we had approved in the earlier open meeting of the commission. Who is presenting this matter?
I am Millicent Anglin. My name is Millicent Anglin, and I'm an asset manager in the property management department. I'm recommending that the property management contract for Poopsville Development Corporation be renewed for 1 year. The current contract with Vantage Management expires on December 22nd, 2020, and I'm requesting that the contract be renewed through December 22nd, 2021. Vantage has been managing the property since 2013. Poopsville Tower is a 189-unit multifamily property that includes 57 affordable units for households earning up to 50% AMI. The property is located in Bethesda and offers amenities including parking and a swimming pool. Poopsville Tower received a 99A score on its most recent REAC inspection and is 94% occupied. In a March 2020 resident survey, Edgewood Vantage scored 3 out of 4 available points, which was the 4th highest score of the 6 management companies surveyed. Edgewood Vantage has recently reorganized their corporate level staffing to improve customer service, and HOC staff will continue working closely with Vantage to ensure improved resident survey results going forward. Staff requests the Board of Directors approval to renew the property management contract with Vantage for Poopsville Development Corporation. The renewal will be performance-based, so fees will be lower if revenue declines below budgeted expectations, or if the property scores below 80 on a REAC inspection. Do you have any questions?
No. For those who may be listening in on this call to live stream, you said, well, I just heard them approve a management contract in the open meeting. Well, we are required to do that as part of the commission, but then we also have separate development corporations that we therefore have to approve this action that was in fact approved by the commission. That's why we have what may seem to some to be a redundant action just for a separate development corporation that runs the Pooks Hill development. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 20-003 PH?
I move.
It's been moved. Commissioner Keller, seconded by? Who seconded the motion?
Nelson.
Commissioner Nelson. Been probably moved and seconded to approve resolution 20-003 PH. Are there any questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposes? Nay? Thank you. This is the only business to come before for Development Corporation business. I would therefore entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting of the Pooks Hill Development Corporation.
I second.
So moved.
Moved and seconded to approve and adjourn the meeting for Pooks Hill Development Corporation. Are there any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposes? So ordered.
May we have a 5-minute break before we reconvene?
Yes.
Thank you.
While we stand on the same Zoom call
No.
platform,